Welcome back to Siesta with Suki. We're doing part 2 where we're talking money, culture, business, investing. So we're going to pack a lot of information here for you in 30 minutes. I promise it'll be worth it. Take out your notebooks and write. And then maybe we'll put like Sonia's information there and you can reach out to him directly. Oh, he's shaking his head at me. So we're going to talk about money and culture, because it's one thing to say, I want to invest, I want to do business, I want to grow my money. But there is very much a cultural aspect to money that is very important to understand first, understanding the different systems that you're in, and then kind of getting into investments, passive income, and the like. So first we're going to start up with a burning question that I've had, because Sonia told us that, or Sonny, we Haitian, we're going to go Sonia. Sonia tells us about fintech. So I really want to understand fintech. So talk to me about what fintech is.
Yeah, so fintech, to keep it simply, is just financial technology. So think of if you need to send me a Zelle payment, right?
Yes.
That's technology where you can push a button and you can send the funds within minutes, right?
Yes.
So more specifically, I cover treasury services.
Okay.
So what I do essentially is help very large corporations establish their ACH payments, their checks. So think of a company like Amazon. Amazon has to pay their employees, they have to pay their vendors. Mm-hmm. How do they do that? Typically it's through ACH transactions, and I would be the person setting up the back-end systems for them to perform those transactions. If they need to send checks, I'm the person that kind of helps them with the template and create the system for them to be able to automate their check payments. So
Is this project based or is it something that's ongoing?
This is project based. So let's say I on average I'll have a client for about 2 to 3 months,
Okay.
and then I'll work with them to establish it. I work with other teammates too that have different portions of the project,
Okay.
To essentially establish those type of treasury service products.
Okay, so tell me how you get into this, because I need to know. We all need to know.
Yeah, so my career started off actually in social work, believe it or not. After college, I'm very big with helping people. I
Okay.
love...
So wait, you got a social worker degree in the whole deal?
No, I actually got a criminal justice degree. But what I found out is you go to college to figure out what you don't want to do. So
This is truth.
yeah,
Ladies and gentlemen, write that down, okay? That's why you got a scholarship. Good for you.
Yeah. So, start off with social work. I love helping people. So I was working for a company where I worked with individuals with mental disabilities in houses. So I had that job. I had 2 jobs, actually. So I did that.
Like a real Haitian.
I did that. And
Only
then
2 jobs? Lazy.
And then I had and then I was a social worker where I was working with individuals with substance abuse issues and, helping. One of my stories that I'm really proud of is I was working with an individual who was about 50, 60 years old who didn't know how to read or write. Wow. And one of the things I like that I did was set him up with adult literacy classes. I helped him find housing. And one of the proudest moments for me was when he called me one day and he got a letter after he had been taking the classes. He called me, he's like, hey, we set up a meeting and he was like, hey, I think I got accepted for this housing program. I think this is what this says. And he was like reading it to me. I was like, yo, that like really warmed my heart. Eventually, I ended up pivoting away from social work because, unfortunately, in the States, in my opinion, the people who pour the most into others typically get paid the least, such as teachers,
Yes.
social workers, things of that nature. And I was getting ready to get married, and weddings ain't cheap. So had to make a pivot from something that I was very passionate about, and I went into more business oriented type of career. And then I found myself in project management, and then eventually into treasury services. So
Okay, but you're giving it to me nice. I'm trying to figure out how you learn to even do what you need to do for the treasury services. Like, where's the learning part?
So the thing is, a lot of people don't give themselves enough grace. You can learn whatever it is you need to learn.
Yes.
I don't care if you've been a coal miner all your life. You have the potential, the capability, if you dedicate yourself enough, to learn something new. That's just human nature.
Okay, you gotta
We're
give us
adaptable.
the deets though. How did you learn? We want to know. He's not telling us the secret, ladies and gentlemen. He's being like a real Haitian. Tight lips. Tell us the secret.
So for me, it was slowly building. So I've always been interested in finance, right? My
Okay.
own personal finances, managing my own household. But I had to learn the project management skills through taking courses,
Okay.
practice. I'm more of a auditory and learner, and I'm very good when I actually do things. So
Okay.
what I would do is I would find out what the necessary skills are for this specific role that I'm trying to pivot into. I would maybe take a course or two to get the basics down of what I need to do. I would take the interviews, and realistically, I don't know if people know the secret, but a lot of interviews, yes, they're based on your skill set, but a lot of times it's based on your personality. Being able to articulate, being able to have a conversation that doesn't feel robotic, right?
Yes.
Being able to give real life examples, even if your skills aren't exactly what they're looking for, everybody has transferable skills. Being able to relate those transferable skills into the job or role that you're applying for is very important. So with me pivoting into treasury services, I didn't have treasury services skills. I've managed projects that are up to $15 million for my previous company when I was in project management. But what I was able to do is take those skills and use my transferable skills to show, hey, I have the project management skills, I have the customer service skills, I can communicate with clients. In my personal life, deal with business. So I was able to take all of those skills and translate them into, that interview. And then it was multiple interviews. So on the first interview, they gave me their concerns.
Okay.
After that, what you do is you prepare. Okay, hey, you're concerned about this. Let me show you, by the time we have our next interview, that I've already done research and I've already learned about treasury services and what that entails, right? So that's pretty much what I did on the first interview, and asking very good questions. So a lot of people at the end of interviews, they'll ask you, do you have any questions, any concerns? And a lot of people, oh, no, it's fine. You need to ask a question. So I think, if I remember correctly, one of my questions was, what is currently happening in your industry or in your department that you foresee will be a issue moving forward, and where can I step in to help you with, resolving this issue?
You're hired. Got it. Okay.
So, it shows that if you can give a little bit of detail about the company, and then also maybe even you come in with market research and say, hey, your rate of retention is this, or your training program is this, and I may be able to help you because this is an idea that I have. Like, if you can already come to the interview showing that you've done the research and you already have a resolution to their problem, your odds of getting the job are so much higher. So that's how I've been able to pivot for multiple different industries, is just taking the interest in being willing to learn and having conversations, being personable, and being able to take the industry and look into what the potential issues are and trying to figure out a solution to them.
Okay.
So.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
We are giving him the job, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. He is hired. Okay, so obviously this is a good attitude and foundation for kind of just your interests. So before we're gonna slightly go to the side, because I want you to tell people about your real estate project.
Yes.
Now, the reason we're going to talk about this, ladies and gentlemen, is because we're going to take that and we're going to pivot into culture. Because culture, I know sometimes I have a tendency to talk culture across countries, but sometimes culture is also just across cities in the same country, right? And so I want you to talk about the story. Don't be afraid. I'll tell you about the stuff that I got caught up in. It's fine. I lost a lot of money too, so you don't have to worry. We're all here together. It's fine. We're not embarrassed. So talk to us about your real estate project. So you're asking yourself, right? Because this whole time he just finished telling you about how much he was working, right? That was just job number one. So let's talk about job number two. Talk to us.
Yeah. So job number two, after college, I got married at 24, and my wife was like, we need to think about the long term. We need to find something to do where we're building generational wealth. And I truly believe God sends you a wife to help elevate you, right?
Oh, we're gonna take that as a clip and send it to her.
So with that, it kind of set me on the path to trying to figure out what avenue I want to go to build generational wealth. And I stumbled onto real estate. You hear a lot about all the good things of real estate, generational wealth, passive income.
Sounds
You
so
buy all
good.
these houses, and then next thing
It's like Monopoly, right?
Yeah,
They're like,
you don't have to work,
no.
and but a lot of people don't tell you about the nitty gritty of real
No.
estate and the difficulties. So my venture into real estate was deciding to go into one of the hardest markets with no experience
which
doing
is?
a full gut rehab, which is Chicago.
Okay.
So,
Chi-town.
So I was living about 2.5 hours away in Bloomington, Illinois, and I decided to purchase a duplex that needed a full gut rehab in Chicago.
Okay.
With no experience. So one of the things that I did is once I decide to do something, I give myself a timeline. So I said to myself, I'm going to give myself a year, and no matter what happens, I'm going to pull the trigger on purchasing some sort of real estate.
Okay.
I was at that time commuting to work about an hour. So every day at work, every day when I'm heading to work, I would listen to podcasts. And I would try to soak up as much information about real estate as I could, learn the lingo, learn the terminology, and I thought that would be enough, right? Because we think like if we just learn by reading books.
Oh, you're good, because I don't even do that. I already know.
You just
I
dive
just
in.
gotta throw myself in the water because, Evan's actually the podcast guy, so he will. I'm like, yeah, give me the snapshot.
Yeah.
Because I already know.
Yeah.
Whatever you think, it's actually like kids. I think the reason I think that is because I had kids very young. Mm-hmm. And they're just never what you think. And so it occurred to me, yes, they're just not, they're their own people. And I think projects are like babies. They're going to be who they're going to be. So you have to just go with the flow. But talk to me. Okay, so you're trying to do the right thing. Good for you.
Yep.
Nothing wrong with doing the right thing. So podcasts and those things, there's still some value to it.
Yep.
I would say that thinking that you've learned it all from there is probably not it. Because here's the real deal, and I'm just going to be honest with you, my friends, ladies and gentlemen. There are things that I will never tell you on this podcast, right? That's real. Yeah. If you happen to see me and we're talking on the street, maybe having mezcals together, I'll keep it real with you. But certain things you just can't share or say, and it's that actually little piece. That's the piece that you kind of need and is missing. So go make some friends who are doing it already.
Yeah.
That's
and that like mezcal.
Yes. 2 mezcals later, you'll get all the business. All right.
So, dove into real estate. That year came up. I purchased a duplex on the south side of Chicago. And I was ready to get my contractor. I did all the things. I vetted contractors, got 3 quotes, so on and so forth. And long story short, the project turned completely upside down. It took up about 2 years of our life. And keep in mind, I was recently married at this time.
Yes.
And we're already running into financial difficulties. So
It's
basically
actually
what
very
happened,
normal. Don't let him beat himself up on this.
basically what happened is the contractor that I chose was the cheapest contractor, which you never want to go with the cheapest guy.
Yeah.
But at that time, fresh out of college.
In any country. Real talk. Preach, sir, preach.
Yeah. At that time, fresh out of college, not very much money. And keep in mind, I did this with $10,000. So I bought my first property with rehab included with $10,000. And this is...
Wait, talk to me. We need to talk numbers.
Yeah,
When you say $10,000 with money, what's that mean? How much was the actual property itself?
So the actual property was $55,000.
Okay.
And the renovation was going to be about $125,000.
Okay, how'd you pay for it?
So I used a loan. It's called a FHA 203K loan.
Okay.
I think that those kind of programs are some of the best programs for people who may not have the funds to go into big real estate deals. And my plan was to do a house hack, which just means you live in one unit, you rent out the other unit.
Gotcha.
So I had to get creative. I didn't come from a family that had money. I didn't have very much money out of school. I was in social work. So,
Yes.
I had to get creative with how I did things. And I managed in that year to save up about $10,000.
Okay.
Keep in mind, at that time, I was making probably like $25,000 a year. So
We are impressed.
So I saved up $10,000 to put my down payment on this property. And, I closed on the property, got the contractor, he started work. And this guy was really smooth. He was like, man, I'm telling you, you could be a fish in the ocean and he'll still sell you water. Like, he was really smooth about how quick he was going to get the project done. He had all this experience. And, me being so inexperienced, I was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. I was like, yeah, we're going to do this. I'm going to make so much money. I'm going to get another one. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And, reality struck. So, So first off, the guy demoed everything when he didn't need to. And these are things that I found out after when I did other projects and I got some more experience.
Demoed, by the way, for my non-English folks, is means demolished.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. He demolished things that he didn't need to demolish. He tried to add things to the scope that weren't in the scope, such as we have something called drain tile in Chicago because we have basements, and sometimes the basements flood.
Yes.
So they put drainage systems in the basements to help with making sure that your basements don't flood, things of that nature, because we were going to create another unit in the basement, or duplex the first floor in the basement to give us more square footage.
Yes.
That wasn't in any of the scope because with the type of loan that I had, they give you a certain budget based on the scope of the project, and he was trying to add more things on the project.
So wait, I just want to make sure I understand.
Yeah.
The loan is actually not just for the purchase. It was for the purchase and the renovation.
Correct.
Was it 100% loan?
You just put your down payment,
Okay.
but everything else it was taken care of, wrapped into the loan.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you had a tight budget because your
Yeah.
budget was actually in this loan.
Yeah.
And so talk to me about how this works. Do they give you the money all up front, or they pay the contractor like as he's...
Great question, and that's actually what saved me. They give
I
it in
ask great
draws.
questions, folks.
They actually pay out in draws. So
Okay.
the contractor has to complete a certain portion, then they pay out. Then he completes another portion, then they pay out. So what he did was he did the demo, he did demolition, he tore down the basement, he did all this stuff. He got his payout, and they paid him out a good amount. It was about like $20,000 where he paid out, but he didn't do anything of real substance. So he basically just demolished everything and then disappeared after he got paid. So here I am, $20,000 out of the scope of the project gone. Mm-hmm. He underbid the project too. So something that contractors in America would do is, even though they know it's going to be way more to cover, they'll give you a quote saying, oh no, it's only going to cost this much, so they can win the project. And then when they start the project, they're going to say, I can't finish it unless you give me more.
Let me tell you, I got to stop my friend right here. This is not just America, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so personal experience. We are worldwide on this one. So yeah. Don't get excited about the lowest quote, because the lowest quote is typically the lowest quote for a reason, because that's exactly it.
Yeah. And in hindsight, I realized I had so many red flags with this guy that I just ignored because the price
was so good.
Was just so good.
That's that Haitian in you. We're going to have to salute to this. We all out here, we're wilding out. Oh, where's your thing? Don't let me salute by myself. We out here, bro. We grew up with the whole get the best deal, you know?
Yeah.
Now we know better.
We know better.
We're going to teach our kids better.
Yep. So during this time, after he disappeared, I'm living 2.5 hours away. So I'm working at this point 14 hours because I had just switched jobs and it was a lot of hours. And I'd be up super early and get home really late at night because I'm also commuting an hour to work. So all my days off would be spent driving 2.5 hours to Chicago and then meeting with contractors for a couple hours to get new quotes, driving 2.5 hours back. Keep in mind, all these contractors are telling me there's no way we can finish this project for this price.
Yeah.
So I was persistent, kept on trying, I got a referral from my father-in-law actually, of this contractor he used, and we negotiated him getting the project done. I had to take out a personal loan of $25,000 or so
to cover that.
I had to do some of the work myself, and I was able to really grind and try to get the project completed. And some of the things that happened in the interim of that was the city of Chicago sent me a fine for $7,000 because there was garbage and all kinds of, because he tore down the back porch and just left everything there. All kinds of stuff in the backyard, and so I got a fine for $7,000, and I freaked out. I was like, I don't know where I'm getting this money, all this. And at this point, I'm paying rent in one place, paying the mortgage now in another place. So I had to get very uncomfortable. So what I did was I moved from Bloomington, and I stayed in a 2-bedroom apartment with my in-laws with 5 people for about 8 months. I switched jobs, got a job in Chicago, and every opportunity I got, I was at the property completing some of the work, making sure I got it done, managing the contractor for his portion. And one of the things I learned in that experience is your mindset is the most important thing you can do whenever things are difficult, just in life in general. The type of mindset you have will determine how successful you are going to be. Because one of the things that I did is every day when I would drive to work, it was like a 5-minute drive to my new job when I moved to Chicago. And what I did was I took a recording on my phone, and I recorded myself saying positive affirmations about myself, because I was at a very low point at that time. I felt I just got married. I'm supposed to be the provider and protector, and I've already put us in this terrible financial situation. So I kept on saying these affirmations, and I would listen to it every morning just to uplift myself and make myself, teach myself that I'm worthy and I can do whatever I put my mind to. And that kept me going. So every day I would get up, I would go to the property, do my portion, work, do my job. Me and my wife would try to be as close as possible because we were staying in a bedroom, just surviving, paying these bills off. And eventually, right before COVID hit, actually, we were able to get one of the units done that we were able to move into.
Okay.
And then we eventually got the other unit done, got the top unit rented out. Our mortgage at that time, I refinanced out the mortgage because that's when interest rates were extremely low. I refinanced out the mortgage. My mortgage payment was $1,200. I was getting $1,000 of rent from the other one, for the other unit. And so that means in the water bill was like $200. So I was paying $400 out of pocket for my housing. We stayed there for about 1.5 2 years, and COVID hit. And we were able to sell the property and make a significant profit because the prices just jacked up.
Oh, we're yes. Salute to being uncomfortable, and salute to selling the property.
And that journey was it took a lot out of me. But I learned that even though you're dealing with difficult things, it's preparation for other ventures that you're getting ready to go on. And if you keep that mentality, no matter what you're going through, you'll be able to get through it, and you'll become a stronger, smarter, better person for it. So I was able to transition those funds into paying off all of my debt. Paid off my car, paid off the $25,000 loan, some of my wife's student loans, just got rid of all my debt. And the weight that got off of my shoulders from that was just invigorating. I was able to move different. I started seeing my bank account grow instead of being in the negatives. And I was able to take the rest of the money and use it for other ventures such as partnerships and buying other properties. And currently I'm working on, some other deals because I've always imagined myself being a real estate investor, being somebody who's heavily into the financial space and partially in the technology space.
Okay.
And I'm doing that. But that would have never happened because I would have never moved to Chicago. You know, I would have never had these experiences. I would have never met the people I've met. Matter of fact, I probably wouldn't have met you because I remember during that time we were so stressed out we had to take a vacation,
That's a lot.
and that's when we met you.
That is correct.
So,
4 years ago. Yep.
exactly.
I remember. Yeah.
So everything happens for a reason, even the
Yes.
things that aren't the most pleasant.
Yes. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I legitimately couldn't say it better. I'm about to do some affirmations for myself because there's some debt that I'd like to also, because every time, it's an interesting thing. Evan the other day said to me, because I was complaining, I complain sometimes. I'm a great wife though. Man, I just gotta put that out there. But I was complaining and I was like, this is more debt than I'd like.
Yeah.
And he says to me, then we wouldn't grow as much as we have.
Yeah.
And that's what's had to happen. And we talk about culture. As you know, like in the Haitian culture, actually the best thing is to be debt free.
Yeah.
They'd rather you have no debt than you have properties.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the idea. And so debt is, my mother actually told me overtly, debt to her equals failure. So
Yeah.
she doesn't watch this, thank goodness.
Now,
Because she
it's
wouldn't know
not
how
just
much I
Haitians,
owe.
it's African. I have some buddies who are from Nigeria, and they're the same thing. I'm like, yo, I'm doing this real estate deal, man. Come join with me on this. We'll take out a loan.
And they're just like,
They're like,
nah,
nah,
man,
like,
yeah.
you know.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But then, there's a thing in the United States, you know how it is, other people's money.
Yeah.
And for a long time as a kid, you hear that, especially Haitian kids and foreign kids, you're like, oh, what are these bad people?
Yeah.
But you recognize that you do need a lump sum, if you will, to get. Now, interesting, I was just having a conversation this morning with our daughter, and we were explaining to her the Haitian sol, right? And so culturally, it's very different. Now, this is illegal in the United States. I can't remember what the term is in the United States. You know when you do a sol, like basically...
Oh, the susu?
So okay,
That was
so this is what I'm saying. You know what I don't like about Evan sometimes? He be trying to make me out to be like a bad Haitian. I said to him, yo, it's a susu.
Yeah.
He says, no, it's a sol. And I'm like, sol?
I think that's what Haitians call it.
So I actually thought Haitians call it a susu.
Oh, I don't know.
But then...
My mom brought that up to me, and I crushed that real.
Then he's like...
just save the money.
He's like, sol. Well, actually, funny thing is, our first house we bought with the sol.
Really?
We did. Because at the time, we had 2 kids.
Yeah.
And sometimes I get these things in my mind. I was like, yeah, next year we have to buy a house.
Yeah.
I don't even know what happened. I just woke up one morning. I was like, we have kids. We need a house.
Yeah.
And it was hard to save the money every month. So we actually did a sol.
Yeah.
And so I'll explain it to you all so you understand what this means. And I'm pretty sure they passed the statute of limitations and stuff. So anyway, what I'm saying, you can't get me. So basically the way it works is and I'm pretty sure at the time it was like 5,000 or something. You get 12 people and 12 people agree to pay to the person who is administering the sol $500 a month. Okay, that's how you're gonna get the 5,000. My math is probably off. 600 a month. 600. I'm messed up. Because I'm the one who did this all right. So basically, we paid 500. So if it's 500, so if it's $5,000, 5,000 divided by 12 is what? We gotta do the math here. You the finance person. Don't take out your
it's
phone.
called a
Oh my
calculator.
God, we are shameful.
Listen.
We're gonna do 6,000. Everybody's here.
I didn't say
looking.
I was a mathematician.
Oh man. So it was probably 600 now. Well, 6 times 12 is 72.
You said 5,000 divided by what?
It was 5,000 divided by 12.
12?
But I think it was...
416?
Yeah, but what you do is you actually pay 500 because you have to pay the person administering it.
Oh, okay.
Okay? So that's how she makes her money. So the 12 people agree every month to put in this money. So if you're the 3rd or 4th person, I think we were 4th or 5th in the sol, you get this 5,000 lump sum, and that's what we use for the down payment of our house. And so the benefit for us was, we could have saved the money, but we would have been out 8 months. And it's a system based on trust because obviously the person running the sol has to be able to trust every person in it. So we actually had to get, his father basically had to vouch for us as good people. So I find the system very interesting. Because it's a very cultural system. Yeah. Now, Haitians aren't the only ones who do this. Yeah. Jamaicans, I can't remember what Jamaicans call theirs, Koreans. Actually, a lot of cultures have a version of the sol, and that is how they generate a large amount of money in a short period of time. So I'm always very cognizant of culture and money and how money works in the different cultures, because it actually works very differently. In the United States, I'm trying to remember what it's called in the United States. They kind of figure it's like a Ponzi scheme is what they think of it as in the United States. And a lot of times people will say things like MLM and what have you, and they very down it. But actually in a lot of cultures, when it comes to money, there is a system of personal trust, community trust. You and I were just talking a few minutes ago about the communal real estate system here in Oaxaca. It is based on a trust. And so people within the community trust each other to work with each other financially. They trust each other that I've purchased this communal land, it is yours, and that's it. And it's a trust in the community versus what happens in America, where your trust is kind of on a federal kind of government type of level. And so we view money, finances, trusting each other very differently. So I say all that to say, my friends, that when thinking about investing in whatever culture, community, it's very important to understand the culture and what is the basis of trust. Here, the basis of trust is actually people-based, versus in the United States, I would say the system of trust is actually system-based, right? You put in the systems, you're sure that you pay Zelle, and you press the button, and you trust that Zelle will take the money from my account and put it into your account. So the trust is system-based versus place-based. But you and I, we've talked about international business. We've talked about other laissez-faire in different areas. And one of the first things that I had sent over to you all, I know it probably sounds crazy, but to do your Facebook research, right? Understand how the system and the community and the people work. So I want to talk just here in our last few minutes about, first of all, I want to talk to you about my Haitian folks. When we younger ones tell you to get trusts, do investments, do a will, we are not trying to kill you. We are not, I promise you. We want you to live forever, okay? We, in our minds, if you can live to 90, 100, we will be so happy. I would love to be like, that's my dad, he's 100, okay? So this is my dream, okay? My dream is to talk about my dad, the centennial. So I promise you, when we talk to you about the financial instruments that we are just starting to learn and understand, it is 100% because we care about you, right? It's not the opposite. It's because we care. We want your hard work and your efforts to continue. Okay, that's why we're doing it. So we want to try to change this mindset a little bit. We shouldn't feel anxiety at talking to you all about money, about trust, about life insurance policies, right? We're not trying to take you out. We are saying to you, we are just starting to come into an understanding of the financial systems of a new space that we've all come to, and we legitimately want the best for you. So, okay, so you hear me, right? So anyway, all my Haitian folks who have to go talk to your parents, send them the little clip, and maybe some of it will come through. But we talk about passive income, right? And I think we want to go back to the beginning, which is financial literacy. Financial literacy is, I think, a little bit better said, cultural financial literacy, because it's very culturally based, as we've talked about here. And I wonder sometimes if we need to kind of step back a little bit from the term of financial literacy and start with the very basic of foundational trust, right? Trust that the intent is good. We don't have all the answers, and we're definitely going to make some mistakes, right? But if we start with the foundation of trust and community, one thing, again, you and I talked about offline is coming together as a community. Sometimes we're going to make mistakes, right? You happen to not have investors for your project. To be very honest with you, that's one of the reasons I never had investors for La Soleil. Because in the back of my mind, I think to myself, okay, I don't know what I don't know. Some things will go wrong. I know this going in. And investors may read that as a malintent, and it's not. It is simply something went wrong. So for me and investors going forward in the future, it's understanding that you're investing with good intent, and my intent is 100% pure. I want to get you your money, and I want you to get you a lot of it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, even in investing, you understand that some things may happen and that we have to kind of regroup. So what I want to leave the audience with is from you, and I think we got a little bit of it. How do we start with just the conversations and the financial literacy? I personally feel like I'm still on the financial literacy journey. I learned about, bank on yourself maybe 10, 15 years ago. I'm still learning. I'm learning about the financial system here in Mexico. So I personally pay attention to people. I listen to people. I talk to a whole lot of people. And for me, my way has been to have a financial foundation, not in the sense of, because I think you talked about understanding who you are as a person a little bit when it comes to money. I don't fear not having money because I always believe that as long as I'm alive, I will absolutely work to bring it back.
Yeah.
As I've gotten older, weirdly, I've gotten more fearless.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I don't know what I'm going to be like in 10 years. I don't know. Be afraid, Either there's going to be like 500 La Soleils or I don't know. But as I've gotten older, I am. Actually, the number's 111. I talked to Elix already. So Elix, Sky, Dallas, that's our job. Together as a family, we're going to go forward. So my foundation for financial is definitely family. I do believe in having all my children ultimately be a part of the financial business with me. My fear is much less than it used to be when I was younger. And I'm very open and upfront with my kids in particular about our finances, our financial situation, all of that. Yeah. I don't pretend, if there's a negative on my bank account, I will send you the screenshot. I don't have that. That's a totally different mindset for me. And I think for me, it begins with honesty, and then everything flows from there. So my foundation on finances is honesty, right from the beginning. Then we can all work and build together. So I view finances as you yourself have to figure out what's your personal principle, identify your risk level. Yeah. Crazily, my risk seems to be going higher. I don't know. Identify your risk level, and then just go with it. Life, in my mind, is Monopoly. Yeah. And so I play Monopoly with joy and happiness. But that's me. So tell me yours before we leave the audience. Don't always be like me, okay? Because you might lose a Monopoly. So I'm just saying, that's my level, maybe not yours.
So, it's funny that you say that because I'm actually on my journey with finances, right? Okay. For me, I used to be very open and unafraid. And I feel like the opposite. Some of the experiences that I had kind of traumatized me a little bit. And I'm trying to get back to my old self in regards to finances. That fear of losing, that fear of missing out, those kind of things. I remember I bought a 4-unit, and this was after the situation, and I had a full-blown panic attack. Because at the closing table, I wasn't even happy. I was just like, I did my due diligence. The numbers worked out. Everything was golden, right? But that experience with 2 years of the beginning of my marriage being taken up and being so hard, I signed the documents and I'm like, oh my God, the bill is going to catch on fire before I can get insurance and this and that. And tenants are all going to sue me. And it really freaked me out and it was irrational. So one thing that I've been working on is my mindset around money. It's much better now because I do believe that money is a tool. You can always use it to experience life. Because something I learned is time is more valuable than money. The time that I get to spend with my children, my wife, my family, the things that I can do with money to benefit my community. Once I started looking at it into that perspective, having no money, you can always get it back. You can always find a way. It may be difficult. It may not be. You get creative. So changing my perspective, I think that's baseline with building wealth. And, what we talked about with our parents, that's actually a journey that I've been taking on. For my siblings, my parents, I actually used to manage, and let me make sure I say this disclaimer. I'm not a financial advisor, so whatever you hear here is for my own personal life, and do with it as you will. I'm not responsible for any stocks that you pick or anything like that. But for me, I've managed my brothers and sisters' finances. One of the things that I did was my brother was paying $100 for his cell phone bill. So I said, hey, look, I'll add you to my plan. I'll pay your cell phone bill. The only stipulation is you need to put this $100 into a Roth IRA, and you can't touch it. As soon as you touch it, you're paying your own cell phone bill. And that account has grown to about, and this was only a few years ago, that account has grown to about $6,000 or so dollars from stocks that he has. He's getting paid dividends on a monthly basis. But I've found that has translated with him being a little bit more interested in stocks.
Okay.
I do that with my sister, and I'm trying to convince my mother and my father. Actually, I do that for my father too. I'm trying to convince my mother to join the club. But I think community is very important, and setting that baseline like you talked about. We all need to have basic financial literacy skills, have the confidence to learn something new and build our baseline. But not only that, we also have to set ourselves goals that are not necessarily financial, that we strive to. Because what am I doing all this for? Why am I working so hard, going into the office, doing all this real estate stuff, learning about all these things? It's to enjoy life. And I think in our culture, we work really hard to get the bag, but then we hide the bag under our mattress, And
Man, that's a quote right there. That is everything. Yep.
And I think for us, we have to strive to work to live, not live to work.
I'm just going to have to leave it right there. There's nothing else to say. Thank you, Sonny, for joining me. Thank you all for joining me on this episode of Siesta with Suki. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And I will see you next time on Siesta with Suki. Ciao.
Ciao.